Welcome to Two Owls Talking Sports. I believe this is volume 18 of TOTS. I am Mike Davidson, and always with my partner, Overlake Athletic Director Jonn Wiley, and we've got a special guest for you today as well. Jonn, it was a big week last week, a lot of nights in the gym. Run us through the days and nights of basketball season last week.
Well, at the upper school level only, we played 11 games. We won 10 of them. The varsities combined for a 5-0 mark. Boys going 3-0. 3 wins in 4 calendar days. That's a busy week. The girls turn around, put a couple of good wins together as well, including a win over a Chinook school. That's the first time that's happened in 3 years. So big week, and just catching our breath now for another one.
Well, let's start with that girls program. As you mentioned, they, I think, continue to look better week on week. We saw them in some ways, I think, look as solid as they have, certainly in a few weeks. This last week, they're playing a lot of bodies. I think they had 13 girls score the other day, which is pretty cool.
I don't remember that ever happening before.
And they sure made sure they got enough shots to make it happen, helped to manage the score. But nice to see Coach Nelson having to manage score that way instead of the other way around.
I think going into Eastside Prep was one they wanted. They circled. That's, again, a upper division team. And they were in control from the get-go. And, what you're starting to see are the fundamentals. You're starting to see, not just telegraphing chest passes. You're actually faking and throwing bounce passes. You're stronger with the ball. Point guard Jennifer has been exceptionally improved over the last few weeks, being able to handle it with both hands, keep her head up, get out of, the baseline, come back with a retreat dribble, drop the ball into the post, doing really good things. And Fadul's meeting the challenge. She had another 16-board effort to go with double figures. And Faith Jeans. We talked a lot about Faith. Faith hit 4 threes at Eastside Prep. So
carried them that night.
Great team win, and then they turned around, beat Northwest. Hey, Northwest this year, just to have them on the court is great. There's only about 7 healthy bodies in that program, and I think 6 of them are freshmen. Yes. So Overlake was definitely the favorite, played like it, controlled the ball, got everybody in the book, got some first points of the season for many on their bench. And it was a lot of fun on Friday night for Hoops for Hope.
And so the girls still undefeated in the Coho division of the Emerald Sound Conference. They are the only ones with a home game this week. That's got to be our game of the week. Yeah,
that's our game of the week. It's on Friday night. Scratch that. It's on Thursday. It's going to be against Granite Falls, who's the other team in the division that's really playing well. So it's kind of a showdown, the Coho teams, and I'm looking forward to it, seeing how they answer the bell.
And on the boys' side, 3 big games, 3 wins. I think they're 5 of their last 6, something like that. I thought that was a really fascinating game on the road. We didn't call that game at Eastside Prep, but got to watch the broadcast, especially that second half. Right? Kind of a slug it out, welcome back game in the first half.
Yeah.
Eastside Prep comes out, goes on a 14-0 run in something like 3 minutes, to start the second half. And that team did not blink, right? Came right back with a 9-0 run of their own and just kind of ground them down and put it away. That was a potential panic mode moment for this squad. And they just, they just took off, did the next right thing.
Conference game on the road, right? Against a team that, we kind of handily early in the season. But let's not forget, Eastside Prep's a lot bigger than we are. They're playing at home. They've been playing better basketball. They turned around and beat Bush by 40 the next game. There's a lot of reasons to believe that game was a lot closer going in than maybe some players thought. And then they just ground them out. You grind them out on the road. A lot of guys made contributions. Not least of which was Ethan Ho ripping that ball in the last
we've even seen this year game-winning shots. We don't see that many game-winning pocket pickings.
Full thievery.
What that was.
Full thievery. Yes. And but a lot of really good things came out of that, and they hung together and they withstood the runs, and it's fun to see.
And then the big event, of course, Hoops for Hope. It was a great night in the gym. Owls had victories in all of those games, but it was bigger than that night, right?
Yeah.
And how was the fundraising?
We raised over $40,000 for DIPG, pediatric brain cancer research at Children's. couldn't be more proud of the community. Student section was awesome. No, they came out, they weren't pink, they're loud. They stood the whole game on that 7 o'clock tip. And the boys played well, the girls played well. It was a great game.
Yeah. So great week for that program. Now they become road warriors. Yeah. 6 of the final 7 games for the boys on the road. The lone exception is senior night next week. 3 road games this week. Should be winnable games, but UPrep, that's a tricky team. That's one to watch out for. They're doing well in the Coho for sure.
They've had a great season so far. You never know, right? You put your team into a schedule 6 months prior to the season. Well, if UPrep was doing that right now, maybe they would have put it into the Chinook schedule. So we'll see. Tonight will tell us a lot about the strength of both divisions, frankly, because Overlake has taken care of, we're sitting right in the middle of the Chinook, taking care of the 2 schools below us handily, hands full with the 2 above, but what's going on with the other division? And UPrep has certainly won some of those cross-division games with other schools. So at the Puma Dome, never an easy place to play. It should be a lot of fun, though.
And I imagine Coach Banks doesn't want his players paying much attention, but I did see a top 10 RPI Owls Club finally break through, which, right, you just realize, they play a lot of good teams.
Number 10 in the state right now.
You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like they've won all their games or whatever, but they played good team after good team.
They're 9-4.
And they get to beat off for it.
And, for the most part, the teams they played that they haven't been successful against are in that top 10 as well. Mm-hmm. Right? So Seattle Christians, 2 or 3 in the state? Bear Creek and Kings are up there. So nothing to worry about. They're 9-4. They're playing well, starting to find that rhythm and starting to get really strong team contributions from so many guys.
So with all that said, all that success last week, who's your athlete of the week for last week?
It's on the girls' side. It's Anushka Singh.
Oh, great choice.
Yeah. Her captains talked about how hard she works on D and the intensity she brings everything and really put them over the top with her wins last week.
So there you have games on the road for the boys at UPrep, at Granite, and at Northwest Yeshiva this week. We are fortunate enough to have the ability to introduce a new segment here today. We put this out on last week's TOTS, and the letters have been pouring in. A lot of questions in the mailbag for us, but which one you drew one out of the bag? What'd you choose?
Yeah, and I went with Zach because he's an alum, he's a coach, and he's a great guy. Zach Foster asks, "Hey Tots, question I got for you and Mike. If you could add one player to this current Overlake roster, and I believe he means an alum, who would it be and why?"
Okay.
I think he's...
So I can't go Tim Duncan. It's got to be an alum.
It's got to be an alum.
Okay.
And all I would say, you can kind of sort through it and throw a few, but over the last couple decades, I'd say you're really looking for a big man on this.
Yeah, sorry, Hank, but that's probably what you're going to do.
I mean, we're rolling out a 6'1" center still, and I'm sure Coach Banks would appreciate a veteran post, considering all the guards he has. So you're really talking about a choice of...
There's a lot to choose from, right?
I'd go 6'6" and above.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to leave you... Grant Fallon maybe is on
class of 2000.
Yeah. Aaron Richardson Osgood.
Went on to play at Cornell, yes.
Both the Friend Boys.
Class of 06. Huh?
Both the Friend Boys.
Those guys were both solid. Owen and Charlie. And the other one I'll let you talk about.
Well, out of those 4, because when you think classic centers, right? Aero had all his success in college, but it wasn't a 20-point game scorer in high school, right? So I might eliminate him off that list.
And then you got the guy who graduated a couple of years ago that you were saying. So,
Owen Friend's a really interesting choice.
Yeah, he's the biggest guy we've ever played.
He was an 18 and 12 guy. His senior year. I will throw one out there. Not a true center in that sense, but Jack Wiley would be a very interesting fit with this club. You don't have to play him back to the basket, but he's a good rebounder, another plus shooter, can defend a big. There's another one I'll throw out there.
Well, I'm going to pull myself out of this, Mike. I'm going to have to make you make the call for obvious reasons, but those would be the kind of players I'd look for. And I don't think, Zach, I know this is a cheap way around it, but I don't think you go wrong with any of those guys.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer it. I would take prime player from Zach's own era, prime Owen friend. And let's see what it looks like. With what was he, 6'9"?
Yeah. And he's kind of like back to the basket, drop step, and dunk with two hands.
He's the answer to the one question. This team that's really
shout out to Owen.
Yeah, hope you're listening, Owen. I imagine you are. And Charlie, don't take it personal, but Owen will let you know about that several times.
And Jack, sorry, but
I mean, you got
to post it up.
Jack would you just got posted up. That's what it is. So we've got a guest today. Very, very excited that we have Overlake boys head coach Taylor Banks with us today. The aforementioned boys team, number 10 in the RPI, currently 9-4. And also, in the middle of, we've coached a lot of high school basketball seasons, right in the middle of the dog days, right in the middle of January, one of the hardest times, I think, to be a coach of any sport. So, Coach Banks, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tell us just a little bit about, and when you think about what's been the key to the step forward y'all have made this season, what's the number one thing you identify? And then I want to ask you a little bit more about those January dog days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've gone past the halfway part of the season, and you really start to see a shift of figuring out, who we are as a team, who our players are, how each of these puzzle pieces fits together for each team, and each one is unique. And, I think over the last week, we really saw we had the most fun as a team that we've had all season. This is a group that has really high expectations for themselves personally, individually, and as a team. And we really grew a lot last week. And we saw it in practice with guys smiling, high-fiving, being with groups and partners that they usually maybe aren't with when they do their individual drills or some groups. And that translates to the court. And you watch some of our bench clips, our energy. When things go right, we say, support the successes and then also support us during adversity.
Taylor, what I want to ask is, I know toughness and togetherness is kind of what you guys follow. And I think those are great goals every day, for a team. But you literally talk about physical touching, high fives, fist bumps, helping guys up, all those things. Those are really big to a team. I know in the NBA, they track this, and they said Kevin Durant was the number one teammate, touch guy. You guys do it a lot, and I've noticed that some teams that don't really have a lot going on, you can tell in culture, don't touch much. Tell us what that's like, and tell us what it means to your team.
Yeah, it's a big part about who we are and what we do, and we work on it every single day in practice, where we will do a drill and be very focused on the teams that get the touches. Not only after you make a great play, but after something goes wrong. Do you run over to your teammate? Do you help them up? Do you give a high five and encourage they get to the next play? And we see it a lot when we do our film studies. We watch our touches and our togetherness, and we reward it. It's something that when we go into a hard place and play, it can be the difference on the scoreboard and translate to it. And we see it a lot. We've had some games with a lot of success, and touches are really easy. But when things get really hard, that's when the touches become even more important. And we work on that every single day. It's become something that we've had to coach less and less, being in year 3 with some great leadership. But it's a huge part, and we do see it translate to, in the end on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, it's easy to be a good teammate when you're winning and you're playing a bunch, right? It's easy to be a leader, right, when things are going well. It's easy to be a coach when everything's falling into place, right? You don't really find out anything about how good a teammate a guy is, what kind of leader he is, until you see it, right, after you lost a couple, right, or things aren't going their way. And so in some ways, and there's, some of the adversity that we've seen, right, the buzzer beater down at Hoquiam, right, all opportunities, right, to say, hey, let's find out what it looks like in when it really tells, right? When we haven't had the success, we haven't gotten it to go exactly the way we wanted.
Yeah. And one thing I want to ask you about that leadership, as we're working on the Adults News, by the way, Adults News, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. When we were doing the post the other day, we noticed that your 3 captains were your 3 leading scorers, right? And one of them dropped a season high or tied at 26. One of them had a career high in there, and then the other guy's just been solid. But the point is, like Derek and Hank and Xander, what have they meant to your team as leaders?
Yeah, and you're looking at the scoring first. The last 2-3 games, I can't think of a bad shot that we took, and that's really come of our togetherness of getting the best shot for our team. And the result is exactly what you said: those guys getting shots. But those three have really been rocks through our program, not just this year, but even the last few years and underclassmen. And we've really seen a lot this last week in their voice and in practice, and getting more comfortable. It's again finding out who our team is. 10 games in the season, you start to really understand that, and who has the voice, who's doing the right thing when the coach isn't watching, when things get hard, and they all bring something a little bit different. It's nice having Hank, who brings a lot of multi-sport, high-level championships, a lot of baseball and playing. She's been around the program for 3 years, and we joke about Hank. He's the guy who likes to eat rocks. He does the dirty thing and the hard work, and that's a big part it brings to our team. Derek coming in is been a big part of the team, played a lot of minutes as a freshman, now getting into his junior year and understanding the system and what it means to mature and grow, which has been a big part of his. And he's had a great last few weeks of playing basketball and being extremely efficient. Been a good growth from him. And then Xander, our Captain America, and what he brings and plays extremely hard. His voice has come a long way the last few weeks, and all his teammates respect him, and he was a unanimous captain selection as just a sophomore, which says a lot about him. And all three guys still with room to grow in their leadership, but they've taken huge steps, and that's translated to our success the last 2 weeks.
And then to follow, we know now it's the back half of January, and if you've coached high school basketball, you know how hard that stretch is. Guys are physically tired. They've been going into the gym when it's light and getting out when it's dark since October, maybe, right? And they're starting to think like, oh man, I just, how much longer can I keep this up, right? Am I bored? Am I unfocused, right? I've heard every single way coach has to challenge me, to yell at me, whatever it is, right? What have you learned in your career that maybe is showing up now about how to manage that kind of inevitable ebb and flow of a high school season?
Yeah, around this time, it gets really important to keep practices fresh and doing new things. And you don't want to be doing the same drills the third month over and over where you come in. It just gets really hard to grow and develop. And, that might show up in how we do film and how we prepare. It may be what we do in practice or in the weight room in strength and conditioning. You might take a dodgeball or a wiffle ball game to break some of the looseness and get some fun. And even just taking a day off here or there. And this is the third week of 3 games in a row. And, 3 road games this week. And we went to South Whidbey recently, a lot of travel. And it's a lot on top of school and, driver's ed and commitments as these guys going on. And I think we've done a really good job keeping it fresh, doing some new things. And our players have started to take it upon themselves too and doing some player-led initiatives. They went and watched a 1A basketball game last night together as a team. They've gone out to dinner and gotten some frozen yogurts after games. And I love that, and letting them lead and do things together and keep it new, because January is a grind and it doesn't stop in February. So keeping it fresh, keeping it loose at the time, super important to play your best.
Well, keep it fresh, keep it rolling. This team is starting to meet every expectation, and they just are really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Right. We got to call some games this week, and it's just like, wow, that's good basketball.
Posting 75 a night.
75 a night, but like Coach Banks said, with this togetherness, right? With this notion of, hey, I would make one more pass just to feed the next guy. And you don't see that all the time. And that's what winning teams look like. So congratulations on the season so far.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And that will do it for this episode of 2 Owls Talking Sports. We'll be back with you next week. Share the results of the big road trip for both of these teams as we head on toward the playoffs. For my partner, Jonn Wiley, and our guest, Coach Taylor Banks, I'm Mike Davidson. Thanks for joining us.